Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Break at the Apex podcast. And again, the big topics on McLaren and Red Bull, and we've got some juicy ones, and I can feel a debate coming between the three of us. I think tonight I'm going to be the lesser because these two are going to team up against me, but it is what it is. BT, Graham, I hope you guys are doing well. Graham, you go first. How has life been treating you in the past 2 weeks?
Life has been treating me great in the last 2 weeks. I have been working nonstop, so it's been good fun. But hey, it's part of life. So I've been doing that. Have not been on any social media. Have not been on the old TikTok. Have not really been doing anything Formula One related whatsoever. But hey, we back and I'm back, and hopefully some Formula One stuff can start again. So let's go.
Yeah. Okay, BT, your update for the last 2 weeks.
Um, yeah, I've also been working a lot.
On my
So
nerves.
yeah, been working a lot as well. Last weekend I was a bit unwell, but yeah, I'm good now. I mean, this winter has been tough on me, to be honest with you, but I'm good though.
As long as you're doing good and the vibes are up, we are all happy. My life has been hectic as well. So, work, the hustle is real. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about a, a big kettle of fish. And I'm actually going to start off the podcast with a rumor that started circulating when free practice started on Friday. And we all know that the driver market currently, that now that we're in silly season with drivers moving teams or retiring or whatever, when Hamilton made the big jump to Ferrari, everybody was wondering where's Sainz going to go, and the entire driver market is waiting for Sainz to say, "I'm going here," and that opens the door for the rest. But there was a little rumor running around, and the rumor has been confirmed now by the man himself, the man in charge of Mercedes, that Sainz is back in talks with Mercedes to replace Lewis. And I would really like to have your gents' opinion on this before we address the elephant in the room, which is two, to be honest.
BT, you can go first.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have nothing more to say about it though. I mean, it's science. We know what science comes with. Seeing science in a Mercedes will be something new, something strange. I think. Um, in terms of the head-to-head between him and Russell, it's quite tough to predict at the moment because Russell is driving very well at the moment. I mean, he had a good race yesterday. But it's interesting move from Toto. I didn't know that he'll give up on Max just like that so soon. I do have I do have some hope that Max might go to Mercedes. I think he would, but insights on Mercedes won't be something bad to see, and it would be a good move for his career as well. I don't know if they're going to give him a 1 year deal or there'll be a multi-year deal. We don't know yet, but I mean, I mean, it's science. Any team that gets science is quite lucky,
Yeah,
to be
he
honest
says
with
he
you.
says
Very
that
true.
now, but I mean last year he was like, no, science is terrible. But anyways,
Say science was terrible.
I gotta say, I think the whole thing of Max being ruled out is not that they've given up on him. I think it's the fact that Max literally just can't go anywhere. They've apparently, and this is also just based on a rumor, so guys, please take with a pinch of salt. But apparently they've changed the contracts of Marco Helmut's contract as well, which affects Max, because obviously the whole thing with Max was that if Marco left, he could leave. Apparently that's been changed. Apparently the other thing that's been changed was that um, Max had an exit clause for if the team wasn't performing, but that exit clause had been altered to. But apparently this wasn't changed now; it was changed before. But that exit clause has been altered to only after 2026, something like that. So Yeah, again, take with a pinch of salt because I'm not really sure myself, to be quite frank with you. But I mean, yeah, I'm just going on these rumors that you read every day. And quite honestly, I found it quite an interesting story that Mercedes is back on this talk with science, and it's quite funny. I don't know if you watched F2, but it's quite strange how this rumor came about after the F2 race, and the F2 race where Antonelli was really kind of bottled the race. He kind of showed a bit of a rookie moment in some ways, and he got absolutely eaten up completely. And then Richard van Schoor, whatever his name is, ended up getting disqualified too.
Richard for sure.
Whatever. But the point is, Antonelli had quite a rookie moment in F2 and bottled the race, and he got absolutely swallowed. So it's quite interesting. I think Sainz to Mercedes is a good move for Sainz. I think it's a good move for Mercedes because I just can't see. I can't see a world where George Russell is a mentor to Kimi Antonelli. I just don't see how that dynamic. I don't mean I don't mean it in a rude way. I can't see that dynamic working well. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit of a tough one, but I'd be quite happy to see Sainz there. I'd be quite happy to see Sainz at Red Bull, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'd be a bit more scared of Mercedes going into 2026 with someone like Sainz there.
No. That's where I agree. But I'm looking at this from a very different perspective because even though Formula One teams sometimes make very questionable decisions, everybody needs to understand that the people that run these teams are not stupid. And the thing with Kimi Antonelli, and I think Toto knows this, Kimi Antonelli is 17 years old. He's still a child, and that's meant with no disrespect towards Kimi Antonelli. He's still brilliant at what he does. But that kid has got so much more that he needs to learn, and he needs to gain so much more experience that he doesn't need F1 for now. He's not going to win the F2 championship. He's guaranteed a seat for next season in Formula 2, and he needs another season or two in F2, in my opinion, to really gain that necessary experience before you make the jump to Formula 1. And Sainz, with all due respect, the 3 years he's been with Ferrari, he's beaten Leclerc in 2 of those seasons. And I mean, you said it, Graham. Toto said last year, no, Sainz is not that great. But yet last year, he still beat Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship because he was the more consistent driver. It's not always about speed. You want raw speed, obviously go with Leclerc. You want consistency, go with Sainz. And Mercedes right now, on the developmental path they need someone to be able to fill the consistency shoes of Lewis. And someone like Antonelli is not going to do that because he's going to have to try and be consistent while learning. And honestly, if Mercedes are really aiming to get back to the front, like the proper front of the grid with the new engine regs and the new aero in 2026, I don't see someone besides Verstappen. I don't see someone better than Sainz to fill that seat. And the reason I don't think Max is going to go there is the entire Red Bull Formula One system is built around Max Verstappen. I said it to BT before the podcast started. If Max leaves Red Bull right now, he's going to basically have to restart his career at a new team because Red Bull are giving him everything. So why would you want to just, a team that you know is always going to run at the front most of the time, why do you want to offer that up? That doesn't make sense to me from Max's perspective.
So what's the difference between Max moving to Mercedes and to Mercedes?
From McLaren to Mercedes.
They were giving Lewis everything as well in that team, right? Lewis did eventually become the number one driver. So what is the difference?
The thing is, like I said, the entire Red Bull Formula One system is built around Max. When Lewis was back at McLaren before he moved to Mercedes, he was battling out with Jenson Button to be the lead driver. He wasn't the team's be-all, end-all. That's why he jumped ship to Mercedes, because Mercedes told him, you are our everything. We're building everything around you.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted at McLaren that they never gave him. He always, ever since he started in F1, his first battle was with Fernando Alonso of all people. Then Alonso decided to drop ship. He had no rivalry with Heikki Kovalainen, and then Kovalainen was replaced with Jensen frickin' Button after he won a championship. Lewis never had this whole Max to Perez driver thing until Bottas got to Mercedes. But still, a team was built around him.
So
And I don't think Mercedes are going to leave someone like Russell or even a future Antonelli to build a team around somebody from another team.
So
That also
don't you think if Max had a teammate like Jenson Button or Rosberg or like typical good like teammates, right? Do you think Max will still stay?
I still think so. Yes.
Graham?
If I'm honest with you, I think Max stays at Red Bull because I think Max stays at Red Bull just simply because at the end of the day, where else must he go at the moment? I mean, if you think about it, he can't leave Red Bull right now, okay? When he gets the chance to leave Red Bull, then the doors would be slightly opened. Everybody wants Max, let's be honest. Everybody will gun for Max. The moment Max is available, flippin' Kick Sauber will start looking for money. Like everybody will want Max. That's just how it's going to be, right? If nobody can show Max that they've got a card to fight, nobody's getting him. He might as well just stay where he is. That is all I am saying. That there's nowhere for him to go because he might as well just stay where he is. McLaren's not going to give Max a seat. Why should they? They don't need to. They've got two good enough drivers at the moment. Okay?
Yeah.
Mercedes, Toto will give him a seat only because of his ties with Jos Verstappen. But he can't get that seat right now. But the moment Max is available, I'm telling you, Toto will go all out for Max.
That's what I'm trying to say
I
as well.
think that eventually it's something that Max will consider. You got to remember, Max wants to win, right? That's the whole thing. And Mercedes and engines have got a very, very good history. Okay, so looking at 2026, it's going to be the first time that we have regulations that are sort of focused on both parts, where it's aero and engine rigs. It's not just one or the other, it's both of them. So I think personally, I'm still under the impression that Ferrari are gonna. I just got this feeling that it's gonna be Ferrari's. It's gonna be Ferrari's time to shine. But if Ferrari doesn't make it happen, the team that's gonna be there is gonna be Mercedes. You can say all you like about McLaren. I love McLaren. I'm glad and I'm happy that McLaren are there. They have 2 years to get it right. This year and next year. As soon as 2026 comes, they're not going to be in the front again. Because why will Mercedes allow a customer team to be ahead of them when there are engine regulations? You know, when there's engine regulations, the Merc will do what they need to do to make sure that their engine is better. That's just how it's going to work. So I love that McLaren is where they are, but they need to make something happen now, and that's going to be something we talk about because I don't know if they. Yeah, anyways, the point is Max is going nowhere for now, but if he was to go somewhere, I think Merc would be the best place to go, and I think that they would give him everything. I know Russell is their guy, but I can tell you right now, be it that Max is ever available, Russell will very quickly become second fiddle, I promise you.
Oh, no, absolutely. Look, don't understand me wrong. I honestly think that if Max were ever to leave Red Bull and he decides to stay in F1 and not go into the endurance racing like he has very publicly stated that he wants to, Max decides to stay in Formula One. Ferrari is already filled now with Hamilton, so you can't even take Ferrari into consideration because they've got Lewis now. The other place there is to go is Mercedes. So I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying in the near future, I don't see Max in any other race suit than a Red Bull racing suit. There's just there's too much at stake for Max to lose now than to gain. He's going to lose more than gain if he leaves Red Bull at this very
Here's a
moment.
thought. How crazy would it be when Lewis Hamilton retires that Max takes a Ferrari seat? Because it will be about the same time that Max can leave Red Bull.
I think F1 social media will absolutely explode.
If you think Hamilton to Ferrari was like a crazy deal, Max to Ferrari will be mental. Not because it's a bigger thing than Lewis, because obviously I don't think it would be bigger than Lewis to Ferrari, just simply because of Lewis's history in the sport. But if you consider them replacing a GOAT with someone who's sort of like said to be a GOAT, it's like it's the perfect replacement, right? And for someone like Ferrari, I think it would literally. But the only thing that I will say is, if they have to do that, if they have to do it, that's Ferrari admitting that Leclerc is not their main guy.
Yeah, I was about to say
Okay,
that. I was about to say that as well.
That topic is a podcast by itself.
It is.
That's actually what you just said is a podcast by itself. In any case, guys, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure your bell is ding. Don't forget to drop a like, because we've got some entertaining stuff planned for the summer break between Belgium and the Netherlands. In any case, Graham, I'm glad you talked about the certain Scuderia, because I actually want to head into them next. And again, this weekend has Ferrari proved to me something that I've been saying the whole season, ever since they fell behind Mercedes and McLaren. They were obviously always behind Red Bull unless you go to Monaco, but that's not the point. So, and again, me and BT talked about it just before the podcast, and this weekend was the perfect example of it. For all the Ferrari fans that saying, Ferrari is washed for the rest of the season, they're not. That entire race, besides the fact that Sainz had a really bad start and he had to play catch up, the two Ferraris were within 5 to 7 seconds of the leading pack, which was two McLarens, Verstappen and Hamilton.
Yeah.
And when Max made a mistake and he decided to give his Red Bull wings, like their slogan says, Leclerc was there to capitalize, and he took that position away from Max, and Max couldn't catch him. Now, the chances of Max's floor having damage after the absolute yeet to Narnia is very possible. But the point was, Leclerc was there to capitalize, and Sainz almost got in front of Verstappen as well. And I think Ferrari they're doing an Oscar Piastri. They're flying under the radar, because they also announced post-summer break, there's big upgrades coming to that car that have already shown very good data in their wind tunnel and on the simulator. I think post-summer break, especially with those high downforce tracks coming, I think Ferrari can still, you can't rule Ferrari out for this constructors battle with McLaren. They are still there.
I'm not sold until I see those upgrades. The fact is that we know what we've realized this year is that so many. I mean, look at Red Bull, right? Look at Red Bull and look at Ferrari themselves. Look at RB themselves. So many teams are upgrading, but something's not working. They're upgrading, but they're not really unlocking the upgrade properly, and it's like they're not really sure what's going on.
Yes.
And I want to see the full package first. I will be honest, and I'll give you a question. If we were back at Monaco today, do you think they would have won? No, they wouldn't have. They definitely have gone backwards. And the reality is that if you look at Hungary is the place where they should have done well. Hungary is the place where they were supposed to be good, because that's Monaco without the walls. Ultimately, it's not that they were off the pace that is the problem. It's that they're nowhere near the pace that's the problem. And I know that might sound like the same thing to some people, but what the difference is that when you're off the pace, you fall back. Okay, they're not falling back.
Yeah.
They're not falling back. They're just simply not quick enough. They are just simply not in the front fighting. And that's just all it is. I can't say that Ferrari is washed. I won't say that. But what I will say is that they have definitely missed something somewhere, and the other teams have just leapfrogged them and just said, "Cheers, Ferrari, we're going." Um, and to be honest, I think Red Bull are falling into that same trap, which is very weird for Red Bull because that's usually a team that we usually seeing develop well throughout the year. I almost feel like these guys gave up last year already, and they were just like, let's just look for 2026. But the problem is they're not allowed to even touch anything for 2026. They probably are allowed to design the chassis, but they're not allowed to touch the engine. So, you never know what their plans are. But what I do know is either not having Newey there has, when I say not having Newey, I mean he's not really there anymore. He's there, but he's not there. But I feel like either they're feeling the fact that Newey is not going to have too much input, or they just also haven't had that upgrade that's put all the other upgrades together. And once that upgrade comes, then maybe they'll start flying again. Guys, I won't write Red Bull off. I'm sure we'll get into the Red Bull conversation, so I'll leave it to you to get to that. But I won't even write Red Bull off either, because even though it looks like they weren't on the pace, what Max did on those mediums, my goodness, I don't know how. Yeah, anyways, I'm sure we'll talk about Red Bull. So let's just finish off the Ferrari chat. So I mean, BT, you can obviously have your 2 cents on the Ferrari situation.
No, I'm just gonna brag and say I said this a couple of weeks ago. I said
there's nothing better than I told you so.
And the thing is, I think Dirk is being, and I respect that. But at the same time, Ferrari was one of the teams that everyone was talking about at the beginning of the season. Just think about it. Ferrari was the team was like, look, Ferrari looks good. Looked good for a couple of races. One Australia, one Monaco. Afterwards, it just went downhill. And what I saw yesterday is that yes, Leclerc capitalized on Verstappen's mistake. Yes, they were good on pace, but to me, without those incident, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Leclerc couldn't catch Hamilton. The thing that saved Ferrari's races yesterday is that the strategy calls were actually good, especially from Leclerc. Especially Leclerc's strategy calls were brilliant. But in terms of pace, same as Graham said, they're literally looking like they're going nowhere at the moment. And it's quite scary because I did say that Hungary is one of the tracks that Ferrari has done well. Really well. So I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Okay. Call me crazy if you want, whether it's a viewer or whether it's you two. Call me crazy if you want. But if there's one thing, I know obviously the Ferrari versus Mercedes era with the high downforce rigs, Ferrari always seemed to like dip down the further the season went. But when it comes to upgrades themselves and actually making the car work without their bad strategy calls and Leclerc having magnets in the wheel to put his car there, Ferrari in the last few seasons with these new rigs have really figured out how to make their car quicker come the end of the season. Take the end of last season, for example, they were in the last few rounds, they were on Red Bull's pace. They just couldn't pull it off because the strategy calls were still bad. So, yes, call me an extreme optimist. I will take that. But I honestly think Ferrari have figured something out. They've figured out how to mitigate this previous upgrade package that they couldn't figure out with the new upgrades. And I actually think they're going to be quick on the latter parts of the season.
So they're not going to be quick at Spa, right? Only after the break.
Because the upgrades are dated for when the season resumes at Zandvoort.
So you think they will be able to catch McLaren? Because McLaren is second now in the constructions, right?
Yep. They second. Points. Only 5 points.
Yeah, no, I know. But they're looking good. Besides the dodgy stuff going on in that team, they're looking good. They're the fastest car at the moment. Right?
Oh, by a mile.
Yes. So do you think that the second half of the season, as you say, that Ferrari might revive themselves? Do you think that Ferrari has the chance to win it, or come second in the construction?
The fact that, like Graham mentioned, it seems like Red Bull is falling into the same slope that Ferrari has for this first part of the season. I think if that trend continues for Red Bull and Ferrari figure the upgrades out, I think the constructors' battle is between Ferrari and McLaren. I'm dead serious about that. If Red Bull actually figure something out and Max keeps being Max without losing his cool like he did this weekend, it's a battle for second. I just can't see a world where Ferrari is only a few seconds off the McLarens come the end of the race, where they're not fighting if they actually get a few tenths per lap. I just can't see a world where they are not going to try and fight for that.
Okay. Before you go, Graham, sorry. Give me 3 races that you know Ferrari might win the second part of the season.
That I think Ferrari are going to do good. First of all, I think the first race after the summer break, I think they're going to be strong at Zandvoort. I know it's Max's track, but it's a high downforce track once again, and the upgrades that they are bringing are for more downforce, which is really strong.
I want you to name races they're going to win. They're going to be within the points, anything like that.
Races I think they're going to win Zandvoort, Singapore, and actually Brazil, because Ferrari have always been quick around Brazil. So Interlagos, Zandvoort, and Singapore are the 3 that I'm picking if they have to win 3 more races. That's the 3 that I think they've got the best opportunity to do so.
Dirk, before we move on, can I just ask, is your earphones did they disconnect from your phone? Do you know?
Supposed because I can still hear you.
Because your sound just changed very suddenly and it got very hollow, but okay, it's fine. Guys, honestly, I do apologize if there's any, I don't know, it just seems like there's a lot of lag and the sound issues as well, so I do apologize for that if you are watching, but listen, just stay for the content, because the content is what's important, right? And we'll sort out the rest of the stuff later. But cool. So I mean, it's hypothetical, right? I don't think we can say who's going to win where, and how, but I mean, it's good to believe and think that they might win in certain places, but we don't know. Ultimately, at the moment, that McLaren is looking really dangerous, and it's actually looking a lot like the Red Bull looked last year. And when we get to the McLaren conversation, I'm going to say something that some people might think is bold. I don't care. But the point is that McLaren is looking pretty rough. It's looking very good.
No, I actually agree with you on that, Graham. I'm not like McLaren is damn fast right now, and they are the fastest car officially. And while we're on the topic, let's actually get into it. McLaren right now are almost looking indestructible, and you said you're going to have a bold statement. I just had a bold one with Ferrari, and I've got one lined up for McLaren as well. So, first elephant in the room, we'll get to the second one later. I know already what your opinions are, but I know the viewers want to know. So, Graham, if you were in Norris's shoes, would you have backed off to make Piastri pass?
Not at all. I think, first of all, let me start with my bold statement. Okay, because this is a conversation on its own, but I'm going to start with that statement, and then we can either choose to talk about it now or talk about it at a later stage. If Max was in that McLaren, he was winning that race by 20 seconds. That car was miles ahead of everybody yesterday. If Max was in that car, he was winning that race by 20 seconds. But the McLarens tend to make mistakes. They tend to butcher things constantly. Their decision making is so terrible. They react. They got the fastest car, but they're reacting to what others are doing, which makes no sense.
No sense.
It makes no sense. Okay, let's start. Then that's what I'll say. Okay. The other thing I'm gonna say. No, I would not have let Piastri through. Why? First of all, let's just get the normal thing out the way. No great driver would have done it. Schumacher, not Lewis, not anybody. None of them would have done it.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that Anybody that's willing, anybody that wants to be a world champion is not letting it happen. Okay, but let's just talk about the things surrounding Piastri. I love Piastri. You guys know this. I think the world of the kid. I think the kid is going to go very far. But here's the thing: Piastri's not good on his tires. Okay, who's to say that Lando, who was quicker at times of that race and who was much quicker at the end of the race, who's to say that had they done the strategy right, he wasn't going to be able to fight Piastri at the end? Okay. Also, Piastri made two big mistakes. Two big mistakes. So the team basically said to Lando, listen, we need you to let him back through because of, the whole strategy play and whatever. But what if that strategy play didn't happen, right? And Piastri made the same mistakes that he made. What happens then? Because those mistakes would have meant that Lando would have been all over him, and with Lando being quicker at the end, which he usually is, all I'm saying is they took the win away from Lando. They didn't just take the win away from Lando because of a strategic call. They took the win away from Lando because who's to say Lando wouldn't have been able to win when none of that happened? And don't get me wrong, I love both the drivers. I'm not trying to be a Lando fanboy, or it's got nothing to do with that. It's just got to do with the fact that the team just makes decisions that make no sense. And the reality is, again, I'm going to say the same thing that I said about Perez and Red Bull. Yes, you're still second in the championship. Yes, you've still got the best car by a mile. But when the gap closes, what happens? The gap is closed. Look what Red Bull are doing now. Nothing. Okay? It's going to be the same situation. If McLaren are making mistakes like that when the field is closer, then there's big problems for them. They're not winning a thing. So the other thing, by the way, and the other thing is, they say nobody is bigger than the team in Formula One, right? That's like the thing. Ferrari, Mercedes, all of them, right? But what I find funny is Christian Horner says it himself, that winning a...
Oh, here comes Christian. Here we go.
Well,
buckle up, ladies and
does.
gentlemen. Horner Jr.
He does. He says it himself. He says the bragging rights come from your driver's championship because that's what people remember. It doesn't come from the constructors. Okay, It's nice to win a constructors, but nobody remembers the constructors. They only remember a driver's championship, right? That's why they back Max with everything, because that's all they care. That's all they care about. Okay, Lando has a chance to fight.
Bro,
he has a chance to fight. Give him those extra points and let him fight. Piastri is nowhere near that fight yet, but Lando has a chance to fight. McLaren want this comeback. There's no better comeback than winning a driver's championship, because it will be remembered for years and years, from where they were 2 years ago to where they are now, with Lando from the beginning in a car that was coming 18th on average, with the same driver, started winning and then got to win a championship. I'm not saying that all teams must put all their eggs on one driver and so on and so on. I'm just saying Lando can win a championship. But they're taking away championship points for stupid things like this. I don't agree with what the team's done. I love that Piastri won. Can we just say, well done, Piastri? Like, I love that he won, okay?
Graham, look, you don't have to say that. Like, you made your point. I support what you say, bro. I support it. I didn't understand what was the initial outcome of what happened yesterday. Do they want to win a championship, or do they want both
to be happy
to have their names, both names, or be happy and both names to have won a race in one season? Do they want that? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they did it because they're scared that they're not going to win anymore because they're so crap with their strategy. So maybe they just did it because it was his last chance. Who knows? Can I just say something? Sorry, before you carry on. Can I? You go, BT.
No, I just wanted to say one thing is that if McLaren was smart enough in that race, and if they could actually analyze the way Max was reacting to everything in that race. Max is panicking, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Max is
Right.
panicking.
We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. Right? Say what you
I
wanted to
just,
say before I make my statement where you get me
I
off the
just,
podcast.
I just want to say that they took away the glamour of a Piastri win. Nobody is making a
Yeah.
massive thing about Piastri. Why?
Yeah.
Because they took that glamour
Yes.
away from him. He could
Yes.
have, as equal as I said that Lando could have been there to win the race had everything gone smoothly. Piastri could have won the race on merit had everything gone smoothly. He could have too. And then it would have been a much bigger celebration. I mean, even Piastri on the radio was like, yeah, thanks guys. I mean, like,
Yeah.
like it just dampened the whole thing. And a kid like that deserves a big celebration. Watch his next race get a much bigger reaction from him and the world. Watch.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point where Graham and BT are officially going to kick me off the podcast. So, if you enjoy me, you can check me out on my own channel because I think this is my last one after this next time.
Yeah, I can see by your face you're gonna say something silly now.
Okay.
I can see.
Okay. First of all, don't bring up the points you guys just made because I am torn in two here because I completely 100% agree with everything that both of you said. The glamour being taken away from Piastri, the fact that if everything went smoothly, could Lando have caught Piastri? Again, that's hypotheticals. We need to look at what happened. Okay. Graham, contrast points one of the points that you made. Lando was at no point faster in that race until the last stint. Piastri was consistently faster than him until they swapped onto the last set of mediums. That's when Lando was faster. Even with Piastri's mistakes, after he made the mistakes, he would pull away from Lando again. Throughout practice, throughout qualifying, Piastri was the one to beat. Yes, in Q3, Lando pipped him. And again, referring back to your mistake, it's because Piastri made a mistake in qualifying. Okay? Again, Piastri is still young. He still needs to learn a lot. Here's the thing for me that I am very disappointed in the fact that Mclaren stole basically all the shine from Piastri's first win because he deserves more. He really does deserve more. The thing for me is, ever since Piastri joined that team, whether they were fighting for 18th to 20th or now for podium positions, every time, and literally you can go back throughout the last 2 years, every single time Piastri was the front-running car and Lando caught him, the team said, swap around. Piastri never said a thing. He was silent. He did what the team said. He was the driver to beat that race. And the only reason Lando jumped him was because they had to cover Lewis, because fresh tires were 2 seconds a lap faster. No matter what compound you are, they had to cover Lewis. Piastri had a good enough lead to not need to put that in. And the fact that always when McLaren said anything to Piastri about let Lando pass, let him go, Piastri never said anything. And again, I understand the points you guys are coming from, but I don't disagree with the fact that they gave that win to Piastri because he was the driver to beat. It was only in the last stint where Lando was faster. And when he was in the lead and he had fresh air, after all the left cars were overtaken, that's the only time he was fast.
Then Doug,
So
then why didn't McLaren, instead of giving that nice or that preferable strategy to Norris, give it to Piastri?
because they had to cover Lewis. Because Lewis and Leclerc pitted. If they kept Lando out much longer, he would have been jumped by both Leclerc and by
I don't buy it, dude. Lewis was 8 seconds. Lewis was 8 seconds behind him, wasn't he?
Me too. That didn't make sense.
Because they pitted him early.
That didn't make
Literally.
sense.
But,
Even
yeah.
so, sorry. The guy said this doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense at all. And
the Mercedes is not faster than the
Yeah.
McLaren. Why were they worried about Lewis?
if anything, the McLaren is the one car that can hold its tires and can go faster at the end.
Yes.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. In the I
Me too,
don't.
bro.
I
Me too.
don't think that Hamilton would have been able to catch them. The problem is that you're looking at a team who's got the fastest car by miles, but they're reacting to Hamilton. Why are they reacting to Hamilton? Run your strategy. They had a good strategy. If you look at it on paper, what they were doing was the right thing. They should have just run their strategy. Let Piastri go. He was the front car. Give a lap before it happened. Alex Jakes, or was it Alex Jakes or DC? A lap before it happened, DC said Piastri will have literally a lap before it all went down. DC still said Piastri should have first dibs on pitting now. And then all of a sudden Norris pitted and everyone's confused. It didn't make sense. There's no ways that Mercedes was going to catch them. That's the first thing. The other thing I wanted to say was Lewis sorry, Norris was catching up to Piastri at the end of that second stint. He was closing that gap. If I'm not mistaken, that gap started closing before the pit stop happened. So already that's the whole thing of Piastri not holding tires. And then when they pitted, it would have been another situation where closer to the end of the race, Piastri not holding tires. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Lando would have definitely caught him and won. I'm saying Lando could have caught him and won. I'm saying Lando could have caught him and won. Also, I'm saying that Piastri made mistakes, which is his own fault. That's not the team's fault. It's not Lando's fault. It's his own fault. Okay? The other thing is, and yes, it's all hypotheticals, obviously, but the reality is we got nothing else to go on because the team made a decision that just didn't make any common sense. It just wasn't logical. And that's what I'm saying. If Max was in that car, he would have won that race by 20 seconds. Because the fact is, one, he would have pulled away and nobody would have caught him. Okay, and two, because he wouldn't have made mistakes like that. Max made a mistake yesterday, ironically. I mean, I say that. Ironically, Max made a mistake. But I think Max... Yeah, I think Max is starting to feel like there's definitely threats coming now. And now he wants to, and now he's now ready for a fight. And I think the one thing that's frustrating him now, and I personally don't believe that Max would have been frustrated otherwise, but the one thing that's frustrating him is that the Red Bull is not looking good. It's getting weaker by the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I don't think his mistake was a lapse in judgment. I personally don't think it was. Personally, if you go back and watch it, they passed a back marker, and I don't think there was space for him in a split second to tuck behind Lewis. He had to send it. That's what I saw. I could be wrong. Maybe I must go back and watch it again, but I don't think there was time for him to tuck behind Lewis. I think his only option was to just send it, because he started locking up before he broke actually early, if you think about it. And yeah, I want to go and watch the replay of that as well, because I'm talking under the understanding of what I saw at the time, but obviously you need to watch replays to actually see if he did have time or not. But after passing the back marker, I don't think he had time to tuck in behind Lewis, so I think he just had to send it, and he did, and it didn't pay off, unfortunately. But it happens. I mean, come on, when Lewis says it's a racing incident and it's Max was the one that actually hit him, then you know it's a racing incident. When Toto and Christian Horner both agree with each other that it was a racing incident, then it's a racing incident. I mean, that's how it works. But yeah, I just think that McLaren had to do better, and it's very difficult, because on one hand, Piastri did deserve it. He did all the work in the beginning. But did he deserve it? He deserved it. I mean, Max deserved to win 2021, and he did. But should he have won it the way it happened? Probably not. Do you know what I mean? So it happens.
No.
It happens in F1. It happens that sometimes you deserve something and you get it, or you deserve it and you don't. Piastri did deserve it, 100%. He did all the work in the beginning. He'd had a great race. But the reality is, the team took away from the glamour it should have been. They also took away from the fact that he might not have won the race. Lando could have shown up, because Lando does usually show up later in the stints, because he's generally better with his tires. So, anyways, that's all I've got to say on McLaren, and pretty much all I've got to say on Max as well. I don't have much more to add than that.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing, and what you mentioned, Dirk, about Piastri letting Norris go when they were not competitive. Dude, it's crunch time now. They can beat the Red Bulls now, basically. So we can't be still playing the team game they were playing. We were much slower than Red Bull. We have them by the neck now. It's like basically you beating up someone who has beaten you up a number of times. You're like, let's just take it easy on them. How can you take it easy on them, dude? They've been beating you for the last how many years? Last 10 years, and now you have them right there, and you actually have a chance to beat them.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
No,
That's not being competitive in a competitive sport. I'm just saying.
no.
That's just
Again,
yeah.
I agree with every single point you guys made. I just don't feel like, obviously, their decisions were very poor. I just don't think they should get as much flack as they did for having Piastri get the
Yeah.
win there. Yes, it wasn't the right choice. Norris at the end was the quicker driver. I understand all of that. I really, really do. And I'm so disappointed that they took all the shine away from Piastri's first win. I just feel Oscar did the majority of the hard work in that race, and McLaren completely bottled the fact of making that special because of their very, very questionable calls. And also, one thing that I quickly want to mention, because I never heard that commentary from Alex Jackson DC, because I watch the international commentators, because I
Oh,
can't
okay.
Alex Jakes. He irritates the crap out of me. So I watch the good old OGs. And even Martin Brundle was very, very confused when they pitted Norris first. And another thing that actually crossed my mind now is Brundle was actually very much hyping up the fact that Lewis was like I think the one lap was 2.6 seconds faster. His outlap alone, sector 2 and 3, he gained almost 2 seconds on Norris. So I think that kind of blinded me a bit with how substantial the gap was. I think I see it from a different perspective, but I don't disagree with you guys. I also just don't 100% agree. But it's not like I'm trying to debate. But now you mentioned it, Graham. Let's get into the Verstappen topic.
Dirk. Sorry. I got one. I just remembered
No
now.
problem.
I've got one thing to say about McLaren. Another bold statement. As you can see, I like McLaren. I am somewhat of a fan. I am a fan of McLaren. So trust me when I say this, it hurts. McLaren are scared of their drivers. It's as simple as that. How do you ask your driver without asking your driver? How do you ask your driver without asking your driver? Like, is it Jarvis? What is Lando's guy's name? It's Jarv.
Yeah.
The guy literally.
Yeah.
The guy literally kept on telling Lando, save. Just ask him. Just tell him, Lando, this is what we're doing. You need to swap positions. Why are you still telling him save here and save there and do this and do that? Just tell him. Like, he got the message eventually. He was like, yeah, okay, guys, I got the message. Like why are you so scared to just tell Lando, listen, dude, slow down. You need to let Piastri go past. It's only fair. Like, just tell him. Why are you beating around the bush about it? Just tell him. You know, and the other thing is, I just find it so funny how Lando, they're so scared of Lando. They're turning Lando into a monster. They really are, because Lando is he's gonna become an extremely spoiled brat, in that he's gonna have that effect where, yes, he's gonna have that authority, what we want Leclerc to have, basically, but he's gonna be so bratty about it. And he's going to turn into a brat. And we saw it yesterday in the cool-down room. And you know what? It reminded me of a young Lewis. And that was the exact thing I did not like about Lewis.
Yep.
It was the exact thing I did not like about Lewis. I messaged somebody yesterday. I've started liking Lewis in the last 2 years. Because when Lewis accepted that he's not going to be winning every race, he changed his attitude. And you could see that he appreciated the sport for what it is. Lando must not fall into that same trap, because that is what exact reason I started disliking Lewis in the beginning. And I'm gonna.
Yeah, I heard his comment yesterday. I heard that
I,
comment
I, I,
yesterday.
I can't understand what that type of comment was. I don't understand. Was he trying to make a joke and it was just a failed joke because it wasn't really funny, or what was he trying to do? Because I can't really understand that. But anyways, the point is, McLaren are scared of their drivers, and this is probably why this all happened, because they wanted to please Piastri, but they also too scared to tell Lando, dude, we need to do this, do it. So you can't win
Yeah.
championships like that. They asked DC 99, you had to let Mika Hakkinen through. Would you do it again if that came up? And DC straight out said I wouldn't, because if I knew then what I know now, I would have never let him through, because that set the precedent
Yeah.
for the rest of DC's career, that he will always be willing to play the team game.
Yep.
And that will never win you a world championship. It will
Yeah.
never win you a world championship.
Yeah.
That's just, anyways.
And the thing is, that 99 season, DC was ahead of Hakkinen for a big part of it. And that is the race that lost DC the 99 championship.
Anyways, let's move on. Sorry, guys. I talk too much, damn it.
Okay. So, guys, again, say goodbye to me, because I think Graham is going to banish me to the shadow realm now. But let's head into the topic that a lot of people are also talking about. So, Graham, for, again, very rare occasion, I agree with you that that was totally a racing incident. The only place where I differ with you, though, is the fact that Max should have sent it. When they passed the back marker, it was one of the Williams drivers. They flew past that car because the car backed up on the straights, and they passed the car not far after the start line of the 5 red lights. And I just feel like, look, if I put myself in Max's shoes, he's struggling to get past Lewis. This might be his last opportunity. Go for it. I'm not blaming Max at all. I think if I put myself in his shoes, I would have done the exact same thing and try and make the move stick. I just feel, and I know BT is waiting for this topic, Max wasn't Max this weekend. The cool, calm Max that we've gotten used to the past 2 seasons after 2021 when he battled Lewis, that Max wasn't here this weekend. And we talked about it a few podcasts ago, that Max is still a racer and he's got this very fiery attitude. And that Max is still
That's
very
an
relevant.
understatement.
We just said Max is starting to get worried now. He sees now, oh crap, my drivers is in danger. The constructors is most definitely in danger. My teammate is doing jack squat. It's all on me. And I think now that I wouldn't call it desperation, but almost as if panic is starting to set in and it's causing him to make silly mistakes. I mean, his move on Lewis in the previous stint where he tried to go around the outside and the car just understeered into oblivion. Max this weekend was a bit off the rails, and it was actually to a degree a little bit shocking to see because we're not used to that.
Can I just say that I do agree with that. He was off the rails, but for once he was off the rails and not trying to kill somebody, which is what most people associate Max with. I feel like he was off the rails in a sense where he wasn't overly aggressive. He was actually trying not to be too aggressive. You know what I mean? For example, taking Lewis on the outside, maybe not dive bombing him too much. Obviously, that dive bomb, you know, that is a very well known place to dive bomb. And let's be honest. And I'm not disputing anything, but Lewis did turn in. He did turn in. That you can't deny that, because if you go watch it, he did turn in. I'm not saying that it was Lewis's fault. I'm not saying anything. To me, there wasn't anything there for Max. Max should have. Again, if Max had the space and time to tuck in, he should have tucked in, and he would have eventually gotten him. But I can't. When I watched it, it was really quick, and they passed the back marker so quickly, and it didn't seem like there was enough time for him to tuck in behind. But okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I'll go watch back again. But the point is that he took that bomb, a dive bomb, and I agree. I don't think it was the if it was a case of okay, I'm gonna do it now, I don't agree it was the right move to do for him. I don't agree with it. I think he should have tucked in rather. Okay, he should have bided his time. But he caught Hamilton at like 1 to 2 seconds a lap. So the
Yeah, that's
reality
true.
is, you look at it and you think, I can't see in his mind that he would think that he's not going to pass Lewis. I just think that either he was worried about, you know what it is with Max? He wants to win. So either he was too worried about the McLarens and he thought he needs to get past Hamilton if he wants to have a shot. And quite frankly, it's the same thing with 2021. Max, as good as he is, he's not good at this long game thing. You can't win every race. Sometimes you just need to let it go. Sometimes you just need to let it go. If he focused on saying, let me just come third. If he just focused on, let me just come third, he could have taken that whole race to pass Hamilton. So he could have taken his time. He would have passed Hamilton eventually. He would have. So
Yes,
he should have just taken his time and just said, you know what, third place. If he comes second, third, fourth every race for the rest of the season, while Piastri and Norris are taking points from each other and while Hamilton is taking points off of them, he'll still win the championship. He's got a big enough buffer. Max needs to concentrate on the championship. He needs to concentrate on picking up the pieces. His car is not the best anymore. He doesn't have to win every race. Play the long game. I agree with what you're saying. I don't disagree. I'm not that, obviously we were just joking about it, but when you say kicking you off the podcast, I don't think you're wrong at all. And I do think there's a sense of panic, but I also don't think it's wrong to panic. The guy's literally the only driver in the team. Not only is he the only driver, not only is he the only driver in the team, but he's got a championship winning position which he needs to try and defend, and he's now got a car that is falling back, and everything is stacked up against him in a way. And to be quite frank, I still believe that he got the most out of that car. That's the funniest thing. I still believe. Besides the accident now, I don't think he would have gotten more than third in any case, even if he passed McLaren, Lewis. But because of that accident, he fell back behind Leclerc, and he could have at least just come third. But now he ended up fifth or whatever. But listen, we're not going to be too harsh on Perez today. Yes.
Actually, didn't do.
I mean, I know he started at the back, and I know he had a terrible qualifying again, and I know he crashed again, and I mean, we can say all the bad things we want to, but to finish 7th from 18th is really not too bad.
Like Hungary, that's a very good job.
I guess we got to give him his flowers for that, I guess. But anyways, I've said my say on Max. I don't need to say anymore. So, I mean, if BT wants to give his 5 cents, we can move on.
BT, let's go. Let's go. I know you're ready.
I mean, I'm with Dirk with the panicking thing, and it's because that I think Verstappen knows that one DNF or 2 DNFs and it's done.
Yeah.
He knows that. He definitely knows that. So what's happening is that he keeps on complaining about the setup of the car, like the brakes are not working, stuff like that, because he knows that if he DNFs just one race, then Norris is there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a proper fight. That's my 5 cents I'm going to add in the situation.
I agree.
So, yeah, it's really, it's really entertaining, though, I have to say. I find it really entertaining.
To be honest, I think I think this is going to be a great season for the rest of it, honestly. I love that Max is actually not just dominating. As much as I love Max, as much as I love seeing him win, I'm glad that this is actually happening, because I truly want to see a season like this more often.
But you said Max. So Max and Senna have similar driving styles and similar characteristics where they want to beat you. They want to beat you and like embarrass you, which is Prost and Lewis Hamilton. I think are more long gaming. They know where they are in the construction. They know which tracks they can win, which tracks they should be top 3, which tracks they can actually have a bad weekend and finish 4th or 5th. So I think Max just struggles with that, to be honest with you. And Graham was right by that. But usually, the more calculated drivers are usually the best drivers, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think Max's style, you need to have a very good car to be able to win championships. If you're that type of person that doesn't really play the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
James,
yeah.
yeah, James, actually, one thing and I actually thought about it while watching the race last night. So obviously we know Prost and Senna are these two massive heroes in the world of Formula One. And one thing that actually came across my mind last night is Hamilton took the Prost recipe of playing the long game and he almost perfected it. And Max has done the exact same with Senna's
Yeah.
personality. He's taken aggressive, I have to beat you no
Mm.
matter what, and has almost perfected. But to win a championship, you need the combination of
Yeah.
those two. You need those two personalities to have a baby.
Let in
And that
Schumacher.
is one that, thank you very much. And that is just one thing that I wouldn't say Lewis or Max short. It's just when things start to get tense, it's as if they lose sight of that. And we saw it in 2021. Lewis panicked because Max was constantly on his gearbox, and Max panicked because he was just, why is this Mercedes in front of me all the time? And I had to work to get. And now that Lando has basically taken Lewis's spot, but Max is the one that has to play the long game, and Lando's the
Mm.
chaser. Max's role is swapped
Yeah.
around now, and he needs to adjust very quickly because this is also one of those scenarios that is actually going to be that's going to categorize Max as one of the goats
Yeah.
or someone that was almost a goat, in my opinion.
Or let's even take it back. Let's take it back to Nicky Lauda and Hunt. Same
Mm.
situation.
Yeah, and
Nicky Lauda was very calculated, played the long game, and Hunt was the hothead who just
Mm.
wanted to beat Nicky Lauda all the time. Same
Yeah, but
situation.
no,
we have to
exactly
also
this.
consider that the frustrations that Max is under. You know, if you consider the situation with his father, if you consider the situation with the team, there's a lot of things that Max needs to go through here, and I honestly think that a lot of people are going to miss it. A lot of people are going to look at it and be like, you know, a lot of people are going to look at this and be like, oh, Max sucks, Max wasn't able to do this, whatever. But you got to think that's this messages between GP and Max this weekend seemed different, right?
Yeah,
That didn't seem
but
like their normal
but did you
bickering.
see
It
like
seemed different.
yeah, but did you see Horner had to actually tell Max to tone it down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing as well is after the race, Max sort of like he didn't lash out at the team, but they asked him about the strategy and stuff, and he had no real. He just basically said, yeah, but they you know they he didn't really understand what they were doing because this is what they did, and then I had to try and fix it. Which, fair enough, he did have to try and fix it. It was, to be honest, Red Bull did make the mistake. I will be honest with you. I believe that they did.
That,
So he did actually have to fix it. I don't know why they left him out. I don't know why they left him out. So I do think Red Bull did drop the ball there. But it's the fact that he came out and he wasn't scared to just say, yeah, but they got it wrong, and he doesn't understand why they got it wrong. And I know he has always been the character that isn't scared to do that. That's what we wish Leclerc would do, is start calling the team out for their nonsense. But the
yep,
reality is that something about this weekend just seemed different. Like the radio messages between him and GP seemed different. It seemed a bit more serious than your marriage banter. You know what I mean? Like it just
Yeah,
seemed different.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering if that inside stuff is not starting to boil up a little bit in Max's mind.
and GP looked stressed, eh? Because they kept on taking the camera where he was
Yeah, I
sitting,
saw him like
and
this
he
as
was
well.
Yeah,
not looking.
Yeah,
Right, he was not looking happy.
yeah.
Eh? He was really stressed out. He was
I
stressed
like
out.
his comments though. I love it when he's cheeky with Max. He's like, "Well, that was a nice That was a
yeah,
nice introduction." It's like,
yeah. Well, but actually, one thing that I wanted to get to, and Graham, it's again, and then there's let's just got one
yeah,
topic after this. One thing that I wanted to get into, we talked about the fact that Max is basically carrying Red Bull now, and yes, Perez had a very decent performance, but if Perez didn't finish ahead of Russell, Red Bull would have been outscored by all three of their rival teams. McLaren obviously won, 1-2.
yeah,
Lewis was third. If Russell passed Perez, Mercedes would have outscored Perez constructors wise, and Ferrari with ending both Ferraris in front of each Ferrari in front of a Red Bull, they also outscored Red Bull. So And now that you're talking about all these things boiling over, well, potentially boiling over on the inside, the stuff that we will never see, I think people are in a situation now where everything is tense, everything is at boiling point, and they don't know which thing to attend to first. And now it's starting to show in the
Yeah.
races. And honestly, again, like you said, Graham, a lot of these things that Max is going through, a lot of people are just going to dismiss and not think of, but you have to think of it. He's also still just a human being. He's got so many
And
torches
he's
in the
still
fire.
young.
He's got his own esports team. Yeah, he's still young. He's got his own esports team. It's this crap with his dad. It's the crap with the team. And now all of a sudden he's got 6 cars coming from behind that are stupid fast, and he has to deal with it all himself. I can understand why Max hits a bit of a boiling point.
And the question is now, before we move on, the question is now is that was the flex that Red Bull was doing at the beginning of the season by totally changing their car from last year's car worth it? That's the question.
Yeah, but I think we gotta.
I
Yeah.
think.
Sorry, Dirk.
That's the question.
Sorry.
Go for it.
No, you actually.
No,
That's the only thing I read.
No, we don't have to answer that question. But it's just my thinking. Like, was it worth it coming with a new concept of a car and just doing a whole brand new car just to flex on people? And now these problems are happening instead of just optimizing last year's car.
Okay, Graham, first of all, sorry, with the slight delay that's on our little call here, we keep interrupting each other. So apologies to you and to the viewers. BT, the only 2 cents I have about that is I don't think that was a look. A lot of people see it as a flex move from Red Bull, but I don't agree with that. Red Bull, I think, reached like the pinnacle with that previous concept. And they realized that if we keep this, these guys are going to catch up even faster. They had to do something that another team couldn't optimize, aka Mercedes. And now they've also reached the roof of that. Like we've said from the start of the season, they're going to hit their roof quickly. And I think Red Bull are in a position where they don't have anything else that they can do. The car's at its limit with these current rigs.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the other teams are optimizing their packages better, and that's why they're faster. One thing you can say everything and anything you want about McLaren's strategy calls, same with Ferrari, but McLaren themselves have figured such a beautiful balance with how that car works,
Sure.
especially with Lando and Piastri. And if they can sort out this in a team, we have to keep both drivers happy because we're too scared they're going to fart in the debrief room, and then we're all going to die of toxicity. If they get over this, nobody is beating that car for the rest of the season. Nobody.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but now again, we've talked too much about Red Bull in the past, 4 podcasts. Another thing, again, on strategy calls, another driver that was very unhappy this weekend was a certain Fernando Alonso. And I don't know if you guys read the article on Drive Tribe and motorsport.com, but Alonso was told to let Stroll pass to try and catch, I think it was, who was in front of him? I think it was Sonoda. It was Yuki, yes. And according to Alonso, the team, if Stroll couldn't catch and pass Yuki, they would stop them around before the end of the race. And when they asked Stroll to let Alonso back through, Stroll just said no. And there's a big heat at Aston Martin because Alonso even went to social media and said he's very unhappy with how Stroll and the team handled this entire race.
Hey, the game is the game. That's a point for Stroll in my eyes. We just said the same.
Bro,
we just said the same about
the balls, bro. The balls.
Bro, we just said the same about Lando, hey? Hey, we just said that Lando should have said no. Because why? Because world champions would have said no. Hey, Stroll for World Championship 2030. Here we come, bro.
I'd rather eat my own foot. If that guy wins a world championship, I am eating my own foot live on the podcast.
Lovely.
I'm just saying.
Anyways, I did see it. Oh, dude, it's just a team squabble. They'll get over it by next week. There'll be some kind of random excuse in the debriefing, and it will all be good next week. I just think I still have this. I've had it for over a year now, but I still have this feeling that Alonso knows where his bread is buttered, and he'll get over it very quickly.
Yeah.
Just trust me, he'll get over it very quickly. His bank account will look pretty.
I understand that, and I actually just wanted to make the joke of Lawrence is just going to deposit another few gazillion in Alonso's bank account
Yeah.
to take care of the piece. But another thing that's been standing out to me, and this is now the third race weekend in a row where this has happened, Alonso is getting substantially more irritated, not just with the team, but with Stroll as well. It's as if he's going back into that, destroy
It's slowly growing. Yeah, slowly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the thing is, if we all know Alonso is the least scared driver on that grid to burn a bridge. He doesn't. He wants to be the fastest in a team, and he wants the fastest car. And me and BT talked about it as well. Mercedes are not just in talks with Sainz. Now that Alonso's unhappy, they are in talks with Alonso as well. Yes, he signed a deal, but again, he's Captain Bridgeburn.
Yeah.
And another thing is, if Adrian Newey signs for Ferrari and not for
He won't
Aston
sign for
Martin,
Ferrari.
I don't see Alonso staying at Aston Martin. I think that's the only thing he's waiting for. I don't see him staying there if Adrian Newey doesn't come to Aston Martin.
Well, Adrian Newey won't go to Ferrari because he's already confirmed he's not going to Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Confirmed,
But the Williams thing is still on the table, and the Aston Martin thing is still on the table, and apparently Alpine is still on the table, which should be very interesting. Listen, Alpine are making some good moves at the moment, which they really need to make. So fair play to them. But I think Aston Martin will be the favorite to get him because Lawrence Stroll reminds me of Christian Horner. He in the sense that he knows what he wants and he's going to go and get it. He does not care what he does or what he has to do. He's got the money. He's doing it. So I think Aston Martin win it.
True. Well, I just see if Aston Martin do what they say they're going to do and they actually get to the front and you still have Stroll and Alonso in those cars, Drive to Survive are doing this. Let's go.
Yeah, but I think if Newey is in Aston Martin, bro, Alonso stays.
Yeah.
Alonso wants that. Alonso that third championship, bro, before he retires. He wants the third championship.
For sure. Cool.
But yeah, and guys, before we go, I'm not going to forget. I'm going to keep saying it every podcast because you guys gave me so much crap about it. Your race rating for the Hungarian Grand Prix, BT.
6.
Oh,
that's a low. That's a low blow.
Is that low?
Yeah, I think that's low.
So I'm gonna go, I don't know, 4.5.
Oh, he's joking, man. He's joking.
You are not joking. If you are not joking, you are getting sent to the Shadow Realm. I am. No.
Okay. I'm not really joking. I did have 5 in my mind. I just thought I'd go down 0.5 because it sounded funnier. I have 5 in my mind. Pretty simple. It just the race did nothing for me, really. It was dampened by all the unnecessary drama. Usually we love drama, but this was unnecessary drama that is just no point in having, and it just dampened everything for me. The race itself was fairly boring. There wasn't really much happening, and the little bit that was happening didn't really seem overly exciting. So yeah, to me it's a 5. It's not a bad race, it's not a good race, it's just sort of slap bang in the middle.
Yeah, it's like they were creating some content for Netflix, bro.
It was just a slap bang average race, nothing exciting, nothing bad, nothing exciting.
Yes, I think this is the race that we've disagreed on the most so far for this season, because I am completely in the other camp. I'm not saying it's a Silverstone or a Red Bull Ring. I'm saying that not the best race of the season. But besides the drama that I also agree downgraded the race itself, I will agree with that. It's the most overtakes we've had at Hungary, I think, in the last something crazy like 12 years.
Where were these overtakes? Because I didn't see one of them. What's going on?
I think you watched the F2 race on loop because there was so much
BT,
going
did
on
you see all these
in the mid pack,
overtakes?
and they showed.
Not
I don't know
really.
where these overtakes came from.
Graham, are you telling me you missed Ricardo's move around
No, I
the
saw that.
outside? I think it was
No,
on.
I saw that. I saw that. I did see that. That was solid. I did see that.
Okay, but point, again, I enjoyed the strategy game, and because there was so many multiple different strategies, I absolutely
Yeah,
loved it. So this race for
yeah.
me is getting a 7.5. I thoroughly
Wow,
enjoyed
that's a
this
Wow.
bit
race.
high. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
high. Listen, let's not get started on Daniel Ricciardo and strategy because flip, they killed him. Jeez, like it. What did they do?
He 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 didn't do the spinning this weekend. The team spun for
Bro,
him.
how did the guy he started on mediums, they pitted him after 8 laps. What? Anyways, let's just
Yeah.
leave it. I can't talk about this. Oh, this is yeah.
If you guys want to see him rage quit out of life, stay tuned for the driver ratings because I think we're going to get properly into all. I don't think it's Daniel Spinardo anymore. It's now Visa Cash App
Jeez.
Spinardo. But any guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking. If you haven't done it yet, make sure to drop it down below. Hit that subscribe down below, and don't forget to ding that bell to never miss a future podcast here on Break at the Apex. It's been a blast. We see you guys at the driver
Cheers.
ratings.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.